Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, and I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get those questions in. We're going to get to those here in a little bit. We're also going to talk to Marcus Myers here in about 10 minutes or so, see what he's up to. Jerry's got the dang corn dog with mayo out. Bobby can't even look right now.
I didn't get a chance to do it Saturday during Landon Williams Palace commitment because I was there and I didn't want to gross people out. So I decided I'd do it this morning on the show.
You want to start their week off by grossing them out is what I like it. I like it a lot. Well, yes, we'll talk about that too. We're also 33 days away from kickoff. Tell us who your favorite number 33 is. We'll come back. We'll revisit that. But guys, there's a lot going on this week. A lot that's been going on. Texas high school football started this morning. Texas starts practice here in about 48 hours. Players just reported, Bobby. It's a busy time of the year.
It's time to get going, guys. This is the wake-up call. This is the week we've been waiting for. On Wednesday afternoon, Texas officially starts practice. They did officially report yesterday, moved in, all this other stuff that they've got going on. It's go time, for lack of a better term. Texas will hit the field on Wednesday afternoon. There's a lot to discuss. I wrote an article this morning on Texas football, not just about the fact that we're coming up on this 2026 season, but a couple of different pieces to it that I thought were interesting. One is we've all been spending a lot of time this offseason talking about the position battles that we know about, like left guard. How many times different ways can we say it? We've talked about safety umpteen ways as well, and how that's kind of a free-for-all. But there are minor position battles too. Who's going to be the backup corner? Who's going to be in the rotation at the defensive line when Texas has a very strong defensive front? What about tight end? I mean, Mike Masunas came in for Michigan State, but Spencer Shannon held him off as inline tight end number one through spring. So there's a lot of smaller position battles we're going to be chronicling over the next month or so. But the bigger piece for me, Jerry, is we talk about practice. And this is one of the things I want to get Marcus's opinion on when we bring him in. The great teams, to me, like in 2024, when we went out and watched Texas practice, the first practice was crisp, efficient, clean as a word. The best teams, and I remember 05 and I remember 08. I'm not saying they didn't have bad practices here and there, but you could almost tell early how much that team was kind of locked in, right? I'm interested to see on Wednesday if this team arrives locked in.
Yeah. Is it different, a little more different nowadays with all the portal guys? Because there's
40 plus new faces.
Yeah. So is it going to be a little slower starting in that regard? I don't know. I'm interested as well in that. Just kind of the feel from the guys you get, I think is a big thing. But look, I coming off of last year, as far as the returning guys, I expect them to have the locked in look no matter what. Because when you're at a place like a Texas and wherever you're at, one of these power programs in Ohio State and Alabama, wherever, if you don't make a playoff nowadays, man, it's a long off season. I mean, it really is a long off season. Back when 4 teams made the playoffs, that's a different deal. But when 12 teams are making the playoffs and you're looking up at 4 or 5 others from your own conference who made it, you didn't. It's a long off season through these power programs. So I think we're going to see a look of a very serious team. I think it actually really helps this team. It's a very tough game. I actually think it helps this team that they are playing Ohio State again. Look, I think if Ohio State was replaced with, I'm not trying to throw anybody shit, a Cal. If it was a Cal, I like that Texas is playing Ohio State because of the way the season started last year, that they get a crack at them again week 2. I think that helps in that regard, Bobby, what you're talking about. I know Texas State's the opener, but I definitely think that helps this team.
Yeah, it carries your attention. We'll talk to Mark a little bit about that. But, Jerry, before we get going too far, you were eating corn dog with mayo this morning for a reason. And it wasn't the fact that we're just 2 days away. It was because Texas picked up Texas picked up a big-time running back this Saturday. Landon Williams Callis, 3,500 yards, 61 touchdowns, his junior year at Richmond Randall.
It was. I'm not saying this because he committed to Texas, because if he'd committed to Missouri or Houston or A&M or SMU, I would have said the same thing. It was probably my favorite commitment ceremony I've been to, not because of the way Landon announced necessarily, because of the atmosphere. We had talked about it going into this. This not only is Landon, but Jaquiz Rogers. We have the interview up on the YouTube channel with Jaquiz Rogers, his cousin, who is a great player at Lamar Consolidated. Michael Lewis, who was a big part of helping him through his recruitment, is a hometown hero from Lamar Consolidated that went on to play in the NFL. This was a hometown hero commitment ceremony. It was standing room only. I was talking to Greg Powers about that with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, which they did a great job covering it as well. Matt Stepp was there. We had him on air. They do a great job over there. I think her name's Mallory Hartley, did a great job with the announcement, emceeing it. But look, I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great atmosphere. There was hundreds of people there. So it was just a really well done announcement. And you could tell how big of a deal this was in Richmond Rosenberg. I mean, Saturday evening, and you have hundreds of people show up. It was standing room only, like I said. You could tell how much Landon Williams Callis means to the people of Richmond Rosenberg, and his family means, the family of football down there. So it was a great ceremony, one, but I think him announcing for Texas made it even bigger, obviously, because look, I mean, there's a history of the great running backs, and look, and Coach Randall talked about it. He was on our show last night with Rod and I, the head coach at Richmond Randall, who the school's named after his father. Think about Vince Young going to Texas, TJ Ford going to Texas, and I think TJ and Landon really line up well together. And think about some of those guys who have gone to Texas from that Missouri City area in TJ, right? And when Vince was in Houston, and I think Vince is on another level than even Landon or TJ were. They're the kind of cut right below. But in the city of Houston, I saw a couple of media people, Bobby, Saturday night there that I used to see around Vince Young's games and covering Vince Young. Joe Gleason, obviously from ABC 13. We had a long conversation about, Landon, and he started covering Landon as a freshman in high school. You don't, at ABC 13, you don't start covering a lot of guys as a freshman in high school. But he was one of those guys. Like TJ Ford was known very early on those Willow Ridge teams. So it's very similar in that regard. But look, I thought that what Jaquiz said to me, I think, look, we've been reporting Texas was the favorite for a while, and a heavy favorite. And I think, like any recruitment, as it gets really close, players kind of have some second guessing. Okay, what, somebody makes a big NIL offer at the end that kind of grabs your attention. But more than that, you're always going to have that second thoughts. Okay, and is this right? This is a big deal for these kids. Is this right? And Jaquiz talked about how he called him a couple of days ago and kind of threw some questions at him, and Quiz answered those questions for him, and his uncle Rodney Williams the same thing. And so it was just like any other recruitment. You're always going to second guess yourself a little bit, have a little hesitation leading up to the announcement, because you always want to feel like you're 100% in your decision. And it came back to Texas, where it had been for weeks prior, even though, Bobby, there's a little bit of, is this 100%? Am I 100% right in the way I'm thinking about this? Is this the right decision for me? And it ended up coming right back to where it was the few weeks leading up to his announcement.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to take this a different way real quick and give you guys some insight. Because when we heard from Jaquiz Rogers, and you interviewed him, the former Oregon State running back, that's his uncle. I was actually walking this morning around Town Lake with a Corvallis, a former Oregon State football player.
Nice.
And it was interesting because he said, look, if he is anything like his uncles, Jaquiz or James, He goes, he will work his butt off.
Yes.
Those guys were not only talented, but they were extremely good workers. Like, they did not go home from Corvallis in the summertime. They stayed in Corvallis to work out and stay and they ended up both having long-term NFL careers. So, but as an X factor in all of this, Jerry, I think that's an important thing to actually point out. All right, so we're going to bring Marcus in here in a second, but first we need to say thank you every Monday morning to our sponsor, John Donovan, President, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's a proud Texas X's Life member, and his wife and 6 siblings are all UT grads as well. So it's John's passion for UT that led him to brand his firm, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's firm is dedicated to designing wealth creation and management strategies, as well as risk mitigation and management for UT alums, UT employees, and UT fans all across the nation. For more than 30 years, John has helped his clients effectively create and manage their wealth, but also protect it from risks, including investment, insurance, and estate planning, which can devastate even the most significant accumulated fortunes. John was thrilled by the commitment on Saturday of 5-star running back Landon Williams-Callis. What a fantastic boom for Texas football. Looking forward to hearing what his high school coach, Brandon Randall, has shared with us. Speaking of sharing, John would like to share an opportunity for all OTF fans to schedule a free private consultation with John via Zoom, phone, or in person to allow John to show you how working with a certified financial planner can help you minimize your taxes, maximize your wealth, and ensure your legacy, and reduce or eliminate the risks to both your current and future financial success all along the way. To schedule your free private financial consultation, call the Longhorn Wealth Team, 972-707-4900, or schedule online, www.longhornwealth.net. Hook 'em from John and the Longhorn Wealth Team.
Thanks, John, and thank you, Bobby. It's Monday, which means we're going to bring in Mark Spires. By the way, see the super chats regarding Landon Williams-Callis. We will circle back to those here in just a little bit. But first, it's Marcus Myers Monday. Good morning to you, Marcus.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? We actually got some real football coming, man. Like I was riding around this morning. I was texting with Blake, and I had gone for a walk, and then I could hear some whistles blowing in the distance or a nearby high school. And I mean, we're off and running, man. So this is kind of like Christmas. I've been seeing some of these countdowns, show up on social media where it'll be like 5 more Saturdays. I think we're down to 4 now. So it's, we're pretty close to getting some real ball here. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, you're number 32 and you're 33 days away.
Yes,
we should have had you on tomorrow, but I think we have some other 32s on.
That's just fine. As long as y'all talk about Said B, that is the 32. So as long as
I got you. We almost should have Will Matthews on, since Will Matthews was his fullback.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, question for you. John Meredith, by the way, just speaking of numbers, John Meredith, the incoming freshman, is going to be number 0 on defense.
Okay,
so
I like
taking over for Anthony Hill in that regard as we talk about numbers. But Marcus, going back to what we talked about at the opening, Jerry and I were discussing the focus of certain teams and how you can tell it early from early practices. Do you agree with that context, or that idea that you can tell how locked in they are fairly early by just the focus, frankly, of the entire team, not just 1 or 2 or a handful of players?
Yeah, I think it's a level of sharpness. It is moving with intention in everything that you do, right? I remember, I think, kind of those last couple of years where, we were kind of leading up to or ramping up to that championship season, and then kind of the contrast. I wouldn't say it was wildly different. It was just an extreme amount of focus. We knew we were there for a reason. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, y'all, have seen all the videos. Y'all were out, covering us all the time. But even then, we were there to work. There was a job to be done. There was a goal in mind, and it was one that was a universal one. And so I think when we touched the grass, everything that we did had to support getting closer to that goal. And if it didn't, there was likely a teammate of yours that was going, kind of get in your stuff and make sure that you were redirected pretty quickly.
Marcus, how much is it also confidence? Because the way you guys ended the season prior, the win over Michigan, that confidence that carries over, how much – and it's different now because these teams are so – they change. There's so much change on these teams and so much change in the portal and so many new faces. But when you think back to that, how much was confidence a part of that too coming off the season prior?
I think you're spot on, Jerry. And I mean, oddly enough, the season prior was against Michigan. So, hopefully these guys have a bit of a similar, momentum carried over. But it's one of those deals where, like, when you perform at a really high level and you see what you're capable of when kind of things are hitting on all cylinders, everybody's dialed in, focused on doing their job. And we used to always, talk about doing it for the brother to your right and your left. You have this kind of itch to get back out there and do it again. And, now I think the way that they were able to kind of come off of that, Citrus Bowl win and then be able to, have some things that they could clean up in the off season, bring in some additional talent, all the things that we've talked about a number of times. It instills a level of confidence in you. And it goes back to any number of angles we've taken with this thing, but even down to who he took to SEC Media Days, all the way up to a couple of days before you enroll. It's kind of hard not to have confidence when you have Arch Manning, Trevor Gooseby, Colin Simmons, Jelani McDonald, like guys that are homegrown, that have done it, have grown up in it, and haven't gotten over the hump. I mean, you can't tell me that there's a guy out there that has more confidence than Colin Simmons, yet he knows there's still more work to be done. And so I think when those cornerstones of your program are really good leaders, and then you're able to bring in other guys through the high school ranks as well as through the portal that kind of have a lot of those similar traits, you absolutely have confidence. Now, where, the rubber will quickly meet the road is the same with us when they play Ohio State, right? You'll find out what they're made of and how much that carries forward. But I would think that they've at least have to have a good amount of confidence in their ability. Now it's about, putting it all together for execution.
First few practices, Marcus, the team cannot be in full pads. It's kind of a warm-up period, right? The NCAA mandated warm-up period. But what would you be looking for from the first week of practice, knowing what you've seen through the years and having been on the team itself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you always, it's cool to see the guys, when they come back and have kind of remade their bodies a bit over the summer, right? They've had a period of time now where, I guess the last time we would have really seen them truly is in April. I mean, granted, we've seen clips here and there and that kind of thing, but I think for the most part, you just want to see, there's some spring in your step, and then you just want to see kind of who steps up. I know we kind of did some of the players that are most exciting or that we're most excited to see. One of mine, I think, was Raleigh Brown. I just want to see, what he looks like after having some time, in the system and over the summer. But beyond that, for me, it's also like, who is that person that's going to choose to fully grab that safety spot next to Jelani McDonald? Like what guys have kind of committed to themselves in the offseason that it's going to be hell to keep me off the field, and the coaches are going to have to make a choice based on my play and not anything that I've said. And so I always kind of look for that is what guys, are moving out there with that confidence, with that level of intention, that attention to detail, and, how important is it to them? You can kind of see how they go about their work. It'll be, and I know we've talked, ad nauseum about the penalties as well. So my hope is that, you hear that, they're in great shape, but that, they're extremely focused and dialed in. And those are the things I'm trying to look for is, are there mental errors? Is there anything that, you're just, kind of having to overly coach? If you see that, then, okay, one, that's what camp is for, but two, that would, maybe be a thing that would potentially caution me, especially with a team that, even though they're still relatively young in totality, I think they have some quality experience at a lot of key positions.
I want to say this, Jerry, you and Marcus. Jerry's reported that Xavier Filsaime is going to get to see some time at nickel this year or this camp, or has been seeing some. Kobe Black has been seeing some time at safety. I'm just writing down the mix of guys that might be involved in that safety position next to Jelani McDonald. You got Xavier Filsaime, who, depending on whether it's nickel or safety, you've got Kobe Black, who obviously moved from corner. He may have the most cover skills of those guys. Then you have guys like Derek Williams and Jonah Williams, and then a young guy like Teray Davis that coaches seem to like. I do think that there are a lot of pieces for that other corner spot, but I don't know that there's a definite leader in the clubhouse even. I think maybe Derek Williams is right now, the odds-on favorite, but can you have a Derek Williams and a Jelani McDonald at the same time when neither of those guys necessarily are man coverage guys? I think that while a lot of people spent all offseason talking about left guard, and rightfully so because of last year's early problems on offensive line, I think that the safety spot actually is more intriguing because there's just more candidates and more permutations that you can look at and come up with a possible answer at.
Yeah, I want to add this before Marcus gets to his answer on that. The winner of that job is going to be who can cover man the best, from what I hear. Just throw that out there. Who can play man to man and cover man the best is going to be that guy at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's funny. I think I've told y'all this before. I don't know if I've shared it on here or not, but I think I've shared it with you guys, kind of through text or in our different conversations. That's how I also know that I am getting more experience under my belt and more years is I went to high school with Xavier Filsaime's mom. So it like there's things that just, kind of you're like, okay, great. I'm getting up there. But to your point, Jerry, I mean, it makes sense as well, right? Like if you're going to have a really attacking defense, you need to have some guys you feel comfortable with. If you have to drop them down in the slot, or if you have to carry a tight end up the seam. And, for all these offenses that they're going to face, we've talked a lot about the quarterbacks, but they're explosive offenses. They tend to have explosive play callers. And so you need guys that you have position flexibility with. We always hear Rod talk a lot about positionless football and how he feels it's moving more and more that direction. And so you absolutely need, some guys that are going to be able to cover at a really, really high level, help you disguise some things. And so, whoever lands there, I have confidence in the room because I just think there's a lot of talent and I feel really good about the way in which they're being coached and who's coaching them rather, and how it's all going to be tied together. It's just a matter of seeing who emerges, right? And our coaches always used to say, I mean, you've heard it time and time again, the big eye in the sky don't lie. And so these guys are about to have here in the next couple of days opportunity to put film on there that'll be, reviewed umpteen times to figure out who the best one is.
I would say this too, on the Filsaime getting a lot of reps at nickel late in the summer, that makes a lot of sense to me because look, Will Muschamp and Grayson Littleton's a starter, so don't get me wrong I'm about to say, chat, but Muschamp's always played a bigger nickel, and so to have the option, you have Grayson Littleton who's tremendous in coverage from the nickel spot. Then you have that option of it may be certain points of the game, maybe a certain matchup that you're playing, a team, your opponent you're playing, to have that ability to play that bigger nickel. If you're going to leave Masco at corner, actually makes a lot of sense because more than one guy is going to play at that position throughout the season. And Muschamp has always had that bigger nickel because stopping the run is 1, 2, and 3 for him. So that move makes sense to me, guys. I don't know about y'all.
It all makes sense in the idea that you're trying to get the best group on the field. Like that's what I'm trying to talk about when I say, all these different permutations. It's like who's the nickel could depend on, or the backup nickel could depend on who's the safety. But I think that he's going to be looking to get his best 5 on the field. Who are those best 5? Is Kobe Black going to be one of them, or is it Xavier Filsaime, or is it Derek Williams or Jonah Williams? I only think there's 3 guys that are really kind of like, hey, these guys are starting. That's Bo Masco. I think that's Grayson Littleton, and I think it's Jelani McDonald.
Yep.
So even Cade Phillips at corner. What do you do if you push Grayson Littleton to corner with Bo Masco? Does he start over Cade Phillips? Or what if they move Grayson Littleton to safety to get a look? I mean, there's a lot of different pieces to this. And that's one of the things that, I have a lot of faith in Will Muschamp about doing it because I've seen him do it before at Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
There are times when you hear about, trying all these guys at different positions. You're like, I don't know if that's the right thing. For Will Muschamp, I think it is, because I think he'll ultimately land on whatever he thinks, and he's got the credibility to do that. I do believe that that's going to be one of the bigger positions. Something else as we move on from just the defensive backfield discussion. We've talked about left guard. I wrote on Texas Football this morning too about some of the minor, what I call minor position battles that we're going to be looking out for this year. The D-line rotation. It's not so we know Colin Simmons is going to play and Lance Jackson is going to play and Alex January and Hero Kanu. Who else? Like there's down the line competition, right? Justice Terry is in competition for playing time right now. Ian Jaffrard is going to play, but what about Josiah Sharma? What about guys like Zena? We think he's going to play. Well, what's going to happen with Colton Vasek? So I think that there's a couple of positions like that. I mentioned tight end earlier in the show with Masunis and Spencer Shannon. There's all kinds of other roster battles that I think. Do y'all have any that kind of – I also mentioned this one. Who's going to be the backup receivers? We've all talked. I mean, the three starters we all think are dynamic, right? With Wingo, Coleman, and Mosley. When we think Jermaine Bishop's going to get in there. But what's Khalil Lockett going to look like vis-a-vis somebody like Sterling Burkhalter? And those are the battles that go beyond just the top end ones that everybody's talking about. And those are the things that I think we'll see start to percolate week 1, week 2, as we look at this practice.
Justice Terry is the one I'm looking out for, maybe the most starting spring ball. By the way, if you haven't seen a new picture on Instagram of him that somebody that knows him posted, he looks like he carried a bus of the players to practice. He looks like he could walk them up from the facility, man. Just put a couple of buses on these shoulders and Planet Fitness will walk them on up to the field, and we don't even need a driver anymore. But I think he is the most interesting guy for me because when you think that Marcus, he hadn't been healthy since midway through his junior year of high school. That's a long time to not be healthy as a defensive lineman playing football. And then, so he obviously had the surgery after missing the Citrus Bowl, which it continued to nag him. But late in the season, he showed flashes. And now he's 290 pounds. He's not 258 like when he showed up. He's 290. He's got the size. But there's a opportunity to take snaps as if you can be the best disruptor on the interior of the defensive line. Because we know what Ian Jaffrard is. Murad Watson can be a disruptor if he's healthy. We did see him healthy. He was hurt in the second half of last year. Alex January, we know what he is, right? Those guys are really good football players. But there's an opportunity for somebody to come out of nowhere seemingly and be the disruptor on this team. And I'm really looking at Justice Terry in that regard because he's so gifted athletically, and now he's got the size behind the weight room strength.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw Murad Watson right there next to him.
Yep.
I think the combination of the two, both were dealing with some nagging stuff last year that didn't allow them, to be at their healthiest. I remember at the Georgia game running into Murad Watson's dad pretty close to halftime, and we got to talking, and that was, basically what he was saying is like, he's fighting through it as best he can, and so I think that's some of the nuance and things that, is lost at times that maybe it doesn't, fill the stat sheet in the same way that, Byron Murphy and those guys did. But the summation, right, of what that rotation looks like, guys that are healthy and being asked to maximize whatever snaps they get so that you can keep guys fresh. And again, if the goal is to get through a 16 game season, essentially, right, or deep into January, I think the national championship in Vegas is like January 24th or something, somewhere around there, 27th maybe. It's a long ways to go from now. And so as much as the, micro battle, kind of conversation that you're talking about, Bobby, I think is one that we'll love to see emerge. It's also going to be proving to the coaches what their depth looks like, because the other thing we know is injuries are going to happen. Now, hopefully they're not catastrophic and they're not season ending, but at points in time, and it may be in a crucial game, it could be in the fourth quarter in Death Valley. Like, you never know when it's going to happen. And so trying to understand what different, permutations you have and what your guys are capable of, I think is why he brought in guys like a Sterling Brochalter. And so I imagine, someone like a Kalik Lockett is itching to get out there and prove what he can do. And I think that will help with, some of those rotations. It'll help with your depth. And sometimes people think of depth as just like having a break glass in case of emergency type option. I sometimes, especially with when you get to kind of this big game hunting that Texas is in this year, for the top teams, it's like, it's not just depth. It needs to be elite depth. It needs to be guys that could effectively be a 1B. And if you needed to go in and start the remainder of the season, however long that was, that you wouldn't see much of a drop off. And in some cases, they may even emerge, right? We've seen instances in past Texas teams where an injury opened the door for a guy and he never looked back. So you never know how that's going to go.
I immediately think of Trevor Gooseby.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Kelvin Banks goes down against A&M, and Cam Williams goes down against Clemson.
Yep.
You talk about a guy that's never looked back. I mean, he literally has never looked back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, Marcus. Great point. All right, number 32 on day 33.
They are.
You have done this morning, Marcus Myers. Appreciate you so much, bud. Always a pleasure. Yes, and I don't know if you noticed this, but this is our new office in Austin, Texas, behind me, guys. You're gonna have to come over here and broadcast from here and right behind the co-op in Austin with us sometime.
Will do. Yes, sir. I'll talk to y'all later. Welcome.
Thanks, man.
Okay. I love Marcus's take. That was good insight on Murad Watson's dad.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, you hear things like that, and you kind of get a better understanding of what's really going on.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously not healthy. If you watch any of his tape from his freshman year at Syracuse or early in the season at Texas, it was pretty obvious he was not a healthy player the last half of the year.
All right. Well, fellas, we got a whole lot more to talk about this morning, but I want to go ahead and address this because we didn't really get into it at the beginning. Mike Gosnell here with Super Chat. Do you expect class of 2022 players coming back for one more season, or are there no current plans for Texas to bring in those players? Bobby?
So on Friday, the judge in Colorado issued a ruling that was not well explained and not well laid out. A lot of people immediately thought that it created a new portal window for players and would begin immediately, and players that were in pro camps could return to their schools or to enter another school. Then yesterday, that same judge issued a clarification on the injunction she granted. It does not allow a player to enter the transfer portal from the class of 2022, and it doesn't supersede NCAA rules on eligibility. So if you have signed an NFL contract, you cannot come back. Now, if you haven't signed an NFL contract, then you can return. That is the case with Cole Hudson. So one of the things that I'm still monitoring right now is whether or not Hudson is actually going to be able to practice on August 5th, or if he's going to have to see through his injunction, which his next hearing is August 10th. So that's something to be watching right now for that Wednesday practice, whether or not Cole Hudson. But that means DJ Campbell's out. That means Jack Indries can't come back. That means Ethan Burke can't come back because those guys have all signed NFL contracts.
Yeah, so, and I gotta say, I love where this is heading. If there's going to be something, let's just see what happens. There's going to be so many injunctions filed. I don't even know where this is going to end. But here's the one thing I'll say. I was on Austin Radio there in Hogan this morning. I said, there shouldn't, in no way, should there be a free agency window right now for college football or college basketball. In no way should that happen. So that's just totally crazy when you think about it, that players could sit there and enter a portal right about the time practice is starting. 12 days, classes start August 14th, 11 days before classes start. I mean, that's nuts to me. So where that is at now, and we're going to see what happens. I can't imagine how many things are about to be filed. And the NCAA is still going to appeal it. We'll see if this one even stands. Is that, look, they should not be a free agent window right now when you're issuing pads in college football. No, that's just asinine. I mean, what are we even doing here? In basketball, that would be totally ridiculous in basketball, right? Too. I mean, that's, like if you're LSU and you struck out in the portal more than Rob Deere in the 80s, you shouldn't get a second chance 2 months before your season. I mean, this is nuts what's going on right now. But to make Bobby's point there too, because a lot of people asked about Kendall Weaver and Jordan Pope. One, they didn't enter their names in the portal. So
it sounds like Kendall Weaver might have actually.
I'd have to see if he did. I'd have to see that. I can't find that he did. It says anything I found says he's entering the portal, was going to enter this new portal. But those guys, to Bobby's point, can only return to the school they were at. And by the way, that's only if there's roster spots. But Texas wouldn't have interest in either one. Not that Kendall Weaver wasn't a great hustle player and Jordan Pope wasn't a quality player. Texas basketball wouldn't have any interest in those guys. They love their roster where it's at right now. But I'm glad at least that's where we look like we're potentially heading with this. I don't know where it's going to end, but we shouldn't be having a full-fledged free agency again as colleges are issuing pads. That's just stupid.
All right, well, we got more to get to. We're going to get some more of y'all super chats. But before we do any of that, I need to tell you all this morning about one of our sponsors. That's Prize Picks, because we're always looking for ways to make watching games a little more fun. And that's exactly why we love Prize Picks. It's America's #1 sports pick app. And honestly, it's about as simple as it gets. For player picks, all you do is choose more or less on a few player stats. You lock in your lineup, you're set. And if you're someone who likes picking teams instead of individual players, Prize Picks has you covered there as well. You can now pick the winner, you can pick the spread or the total on games and even fights. Prize Picks is available in most states, including right here in the great state of Texas. So chances are you can jump in today. And of course, one of my favorite features is that you can follow users on the app. If you like the picks they're making, you can tell them with one click and follow your friends' picks as well. Me and producer Matt use it, and that's how we make it easy to copy each other. And here's the best part. If you've never tried Prize Picks before, play your first $5 lineup. If you win, you'll get $150 in bonus lineups. Just make sure that you use code HMA when you sign up. They actually just updated this offer, so there's never been a better time to get started. And Bobby's going to like my picks today, and I'm about to tell you why. First, we are taking Padres pitcher Michael King to have more than 2.5 strikeouts. I think he's actually going to have around 5 today. But I'm also taking Yordan Alvarez for Bobby. I got Alvarez to have more than 1.5 total bases. He definitely did that against the Rangers this past weekend. So come follow me with these picks or go make your own. Sign up. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA. Play that first $5 lineup. And if you win, you get $150 in bonus lineups. Again, code HMA on the Prize Picks app. Good luck to you. Play smart, play responsibly. Play Prize Picks.
What did you go 4 for 5 yesterday with 3 doubles?
A lot. I don't even know. I don't even want to revisit that right now. This is football talk today, not baseball.
Okay. Hey, Blake, somebody asked in the chat about the baseball program in the 2022 class. Is there any movement there?
I don't think so. Yeah. They're about full. But before we get into some more stuff, can you tell us about Hays City, Jerry?
Yeah, I sure can tell people about Hays City. That's just one of those places that you walk into, one of those restaurants you say, man, that's just special. This just has a good vibe. Hayes City Store is one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They got the famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious. All of it's absolutely from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for those game days. If you're not in DKR, watch all college football all day while listening to a little live music at night. And they even have brunch serves from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hayes City Store is dog friendly, except for 2, and they have tree nets for kids. Join the folks at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at hayescitystortx.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas.
Thank you, Jerry.
Truck stop enchiladas sounds so good right now.
Making me hungry at that commercial.
I'm telling you.
Well, I mentioned game lines. So I actually found quite a few of them between ESPN. And then if you look at if you go to Texas schedule on ESPN, they have some DraftKings lines, guys, that were put out. And then you also see, I got the ESPN analytics matchup predictor on screen. This is for all of Texas schedule. So we got the matchup predictor for all 12 games. And then we got the line now, an early line for 6 games. Some of the ones that we haven't covered: Texas, a 6.5-point favorite over Tennessee, 6-point favorite over OU, an 8.5 favorite over Ole Miss, a 3-point favorite over LSU, and a 2.5-point favorite over A&M. Of course, we've known about the Ohio State and the Texas State line, but some interesting stuff here. And they are favored in every game. I'm sure Bobby hates to hear this, by the matchup predictor.
Well, yeah, it also means Texas State's favored over UTSA by 0.1 when they play. Boy, UTSA fans are going to be pissed. They're rivals now. Look, it's I think the Texas-Ohio State, when we said, is it going to be like 57.5, what is it, 51.5, 48.5, so 53, 47. I'm Mellow in the chat will definitely disagree with that. Bobby, the lines on the early lines are what's most interesting to me out of this, though, is because who knows where these predictions are going to change. The matchup predictors are going to change as the season moves along. But Texas, a 6-point favorite over OU, 8.5 over Ole Miss, caught my attention early on.
8.5 over Ole Miss is a really big one.
That's a big line.
That's a national semifinal team from a year ago. Now, do they have the same personnel on defense? Do they have even the same receiver group on offense? I don't know, but that one's the one that caught my eye more than the others. The other thing that I would say is to Blake's initial point, Texas favored by the ESPN predictor in every single game. So when I came out and said 12-0, I'm saying that they're going to follow the predictor, but I would say this, that it looks like, just on the surface, Texas's 3 most difficult games are Ohio State, basically 50-50, and then on the road, weeks 10 or game 10 and game 12. That could decide whether or not you go to the playoffs. If this is true, if you really take this as a true statement, I think that you're probably, not my prediction necessarily, but you're probably going to College Station with a trip to the college football playoff on the line.
Yeah.
If this is the case, that's reality. I think those are the things that caught my eye on this. The other one, obviously the Ole Miss deal. I am so interested in their team this year after being so good last year. They've had so much turmoil, so much upset. They are the enigma, I think, of the SEC, right? I mean, LSU, you might be able to say that, but they're in year 1, so there's some expectations that are tempered, I should say. Ole Miss is the enigma of the SEC right now, in my opinion, period.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with that. You love the Trinidad Chambliss, who's your preseason player of the year in the SEC, essentially, is what we're talking about here. And Keywan Lacey, they brought back both really good guards on that team. But, when Pete Golding and people around Ole Miss said they're going to be better on defense this year, I really raised an eyebrow at that one. If that actually is the case, then they will be in playoff contention again. If that's not the case, obviously, I don't think they will be. The Oklahoma line's interesting. I mean, the more Mateer continues to look like Brian or Locker physically, does that help the line? Does it move the line either way? I mean, did anybody see the picture of Mateer this weekend? He looked like Justice Terry. He's got to be Planet Fitness of Norman. That's interesting. He's starting to look more like Brian or Lacker than anything with his build. But yeah, I think look, the Ole Miss that's an interesting team to me because that was one of my big takeaways from SEC Media Days is that Golding and people who covered Ole Miss, the thought is they're going to be better on defense this year than last year. Well, if you do that with the offensive, the quarterback and running back they have, if they can replace wideouts, who they lost some really good ones, they will be in playoff contention again. There's no doubt.
That's why I don't understand the line.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get across. That being said, their defense was not what carried them last year. I mean,
no.
Georgia, they went out and scored 5 straight touchdowns against Georgia, but they got outscored. So when they say they're going to be better on defense, I think that's relative. Like, are they going to be good on defense or are they just going to be better than when they were, which wasn't very good? Good enough to get them to the playoffs with that offense, but they weren't very good last year at all. It's kind of like the Texas offensive line. Texas offensive line just wasn't very good last year, right? I mean, they got better as the year went on, but overall, that wasn't a team strength. This year, we think that Texas is going to be better on the offensive line, but how much better doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good or great. It's just better than it was. So that's why Ole Miss, for me, is the team that you just circle that game because they could come out of the gate and be 6-0 entering that game, or they could be 3-3. I just don't know. Like, was Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin, were they the quarterback whisperer for a kid from Ferris State in Trinidad Chambliss? Or is Trinidad Chambliss really that dude? And he was put in a tremendous situation by Kiffin. I don't know. Circle it. Should be a good party in Austin, though. We'll try to teach the people at the Grove what partying looks like in Austin, Texas. How about that? Let's figure that one out.
Oh man. All right, more super chats to jump into this morning. And DJ Alexander says, what would you like to see Sark improve on this year?
Offense. I'd like to see a more consistent offense week in, week out. I was listening to I was actually texting with him, Brooks Austin of the Film Guy Network over the weekend. And he and I were talking about Sark and some of his comments that he made to the media about why he hired Will Muschamp. And he said he wanted to have more time to hand over the defense, to spend more time on the offense. And I think that makes sense. I think that Sark wants to improve overall on offense from a consistency standpoint and from a points standpoint. He's got all the tools. He literally has more tools than he's ever had at Texas for sure. What's he going to do with them? Are we going to see a good offense or are we going to see a great offense? So what do I want to see from Sark and improve? I want to see a great offense if he can put it up there. He's done it in 2020 when he had this kind of talent. I think he has similar talent right now as he did at Alabama. So I want to, wake up out of bed and drop 30. I love that. That's a great line, right? That's what you want.
Yeah.
Being better, hey, but before you do, being better in goal line or red zone is part of that.
Yeah.
But better offense, more explosive offense. And I think Sark would tell you some of that as well. Definitely more. He definitely wants more explosive plays. He said that.
Yeah, I think there's that. And I think if you get to those playoff games, inside the 10 offense, some creativity in the red zone. I think those are obviously team discipline's number one. He's mentioned that, but that's almost a little different than we're talking about here, but totally agree. I will say this, though. I will say this. I don't think Texas is close to the talent level of that Alabama team that he coached. I don't think they're close. I think Texas is really good. I don't think they're in that league. That team had all 11 guys drafted that started. All 11. And the offensive line was freaking dudes. I mean, I don't think they're that level, but I think they're really good.
Well, something that is better than really good is Mint Mobile, Bobby. And I was hoping you could tell everybody about them this morning.
Absolutely. When we were kids, summer meant freedom, no homework, no teachers, no school. Man, I remember that. And as adults, summer still means freedom thanks to Mint Mobile's summer sale. Right now, all of Mint's plans are $15 per month, even the unlimited one. So free yourself from big wireless and get it to gotchas and switch to Mint for high-speed data and coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. It worked yesterday. I was out at Barton Springs, and the 5G mobile from Mint Mobile were working just fine. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right with premium wireless for just $15 a month. Again, all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. When you make the switch, you can even bring your own phone number and current phone with you. It's really simple. Choose 3, 6, or 12-month plans. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6, or $180 for 12 months. Plan is required. That's a $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow. Network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com/ontexas.
Thank you, Bobby. And Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone about the good folks at Vaughn Lane.
I can absolutely do that in a second as I lost okay, here we go. We're ready. Crossing the Red River in style. Vaughn Lane is crossing the Red River starting September 8th. Vaughn Lane is relaunching its Dallas, Oklahoma route with multiple daily departures 7 days a week. Riders have been asking for this one to come back, especially Texas softball fans, and it's finally here. Whether you've got business in Oklahoma City, family up there, or just want to catch a game without the 3-hour drive, you can book right now at vaughnlane.com. And here's what makes Vaughn Lane different from hopping on a flight. No bag fees, no paying $80, just no paying $80 just to pick a seat, no TSA lines. You walk into a hotel terminal, board a coach with just 22 first-class leather seats, and enjoy Starlink Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks, drinks, and hot towel service. The fare is a flat $129 one way with no hidden charges. Try getting that kind of transparency with an airline. Vaughn Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Oklahoma City, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Head to vaughnlane.com and use promo code OTF26 for $20 off your first trip. What's Vaughn Lane? It's a private jet on wheels.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jerry. Hi, guys. At the beginning of the show, we talked about it being 33 days away from kickoff, a little less 48 hours away from practice. And 33 is an absolutely loaded number. I didn't have enough room to put. I could have really filled this thing up.
Wow.
But you got Dante Foreman, Priest Holmes, Edwin Simmons. That's just running back. If you want to go over to the defensive side of the ball, Lamar Houston also wore 33. David Bendo wore 33. A lot of good Longhorns with this number, guys. And as we get to those smaller numbers, these lists really start getting crowded.
Yes.
So Foreman, 2,000 yards. Priest, just injury marred career at Texas for the most part, but had a couple of games where you just went, wow, the North Carolina Sun Bowl, the Big 12 championship game, just tremendous. Lamar Houston, maybe one of the most underrated defensive players of the last 25 years, in my opinion. Tremendous football player at the University of Texas. It was a high school running back, kind of like Henry Melton was, right?
Yeah.
Moved over to defensive line eventually. We talked to Henry, late last week. Edwin Simmons from Hawkins, Texas, had a breakout game against Oklahoma to help beat the Sooners before injuries plagued his career. David Benda, the latest 33 that I thought had a solid, really solid career for Texas, and also a career that I thought was very, what's the best way to put it? He acquitted himself well at Texas, if that makes sense. He was a good representative of the University of Texas, in my opinion. Current number 33, by the way, there's two of them. Yep. One is a walk-on running back, Carson Berger, but the other one is a young man that you followed out of high school, Jerry, Myron Charles, big defensive tackle out of Port Charlotte. Steve Edmond. Wow. Forgot about Steve Edmond from Dangerfield. Some small East Texas towns in there with Edwin Simmons and out of Hawkins and Steve Edmond out of Dangerfield.
Deontay Foreman's one of the coolest success recruiting stories for Texas. And for those that weren't around, Justin Yarbrough, he's a Texas City guy. I'm not sure he's in the chat today, but Armani Foreman was the most highly, for people that don't know the history of this, Armani Foreman was the 4-star recruit. Deontay Foreman was either ranked a 2-star or barely ranked at all. What's so interesting about that recruitment was people just think, just colleges just missed on Deontay Foreman. There's a lot of people that didn't think he was going to qualify. This is back when you had to qualify coming out of high school. They knew he was a good player, but there was questions of academic, was he going to get there? That had a lot to do back in the day with how few offers he got. And it's just crazy to think about. Texas wanted Armani so bad that they took that chance on Deontay if he was going to get in. And he ends up being one of the, I'm not saying the greatest, one of the great running backs in Texas. I mean, he went over 2,000 yards and won the Doak. I mean, one of the best seasons in Texas history as a running back. But it's so interesting how sometimes things play out like that. Deontay Foreman made the most of an opportunity that a lot of people didn't think that a lot of people thought he was going to have to go JUCO, then go to major college football. That guy made the most of an opportunity like very few do. So tip of the hat to him, because that had to be frustrating in high school for him, even though academically there was questions there, to watch your brother get nationally recruited and you barely getting the offers. And he was a really good player. I mean, look, I played in Friendswood's district. Y'all know that's where I went. So I was very familiar with watching him. He was really good in high school. He was much better than the offer sheet showed. And then he watched his brother, which he was happy for his brother. They're very tight. Be a national recruit. That's tough when you're not. No matter the reason, it's tough when you're not and somebody else is in your family.
Well, I specifically remember when he was offered by the University of Texas, and I'm talking about Dante, because I was at the camp where he was offered, and he came in at 6 foot, right at it, and 205. There ain't many 205-pound running backs in high school. And then I specifically remember, and this was when Mac Brown was still the head coach at Texas, by the way. I think before Charlie Strong took over. And Deontay ran a 4.52 and a 4.55 40-yard dash at 205 pounds. That took all the question out for the University of Texas, and they went all in on both Armani and Deontay at that point. And I think that's why they got both of them, is because they had him in camp and said, this dude can play. There's other guys in that same camp that got some offers as well, but I'll never forget the day that he got that, because he was one of the stars of that camp. No question about it.
We got more super chats this morning. At the beginning, we talked about Landon Williams-Callis, and a couple of super chats came in regarding that. And this is more due to Coach Randall. He came on last night, Jerry, with you and Rod, and he had some interesting things to say. So let me read both of these super chats real quick before I let you answer. Rocky P says, great interview yesterday with Coach Randall. He mentioned that A&M out-recruited Texas and that Gilbert saved it. Why do you think that was? Is it the changes at running back coach or something bigger? And then Longhorn Frenzy, appreciate you as always as well. GH on last night's show with Rod, the Randall coach said A&M out-recruited Texas for Callis. Just wanted to get yours and Bobby's thoughts on that. Thanks, fellas. Hook 'em.
I think some of it was obviously due to the running back coaching changes at Texas, because there was just a lack of continuity there in the recruitment. I remember I was at Richmond Randall had to have been February when I went to do that interview with Landon that you could archive on Texas football. In the videos section, and Coach Randall mentioned that January visit was Jaluk, Sark, and Chris Gilbert that came through, and that Sark and Gilbert did a really good job positioning Jaluk to get back in on that recruitment. But Chris Gilbert, I think, is look. I've continued, Bobby. We've been saying this. I've definitely been saying this. I think it's the most underrated great hire on this staff, and I think that was Jeff Banks' idea from what I heard. But Chris Gilbert does he does a great job for Texas in recruiting. In this recruitment in particular, he did a great job keeping Texas in it through some of these changes at running back coach, but also helping Texas accelerate through this recruitment even after Jaluk was hired. Chris Gilbert does a great job. Hidden a lot of times does a great job in recruiting for Texas.
Tremendous. He is a good communicator. He's the reason they landed Justice Terry out of Georgia. There are a number of players like that. I think that what I would say, and the thing that is interesting when you talking about out recruited these days, what is that? What does that really look like?
Yeah.
Because I think out recruited can mean, they spent more time doing something, but they didn't necessarily spend more time doing something more effectively, clearly. So working hard is not necessarily as good as working smart. So I think that in that vantage point, some coaches may say, they put a lot of time and effort into this, but maybe they put the wrong time and wrong effort into it. So I'm a little wary whenever you say out recruited, but at the same time, I think that the whole issue, and something that Jordan Scruggs said resonated with me on Saturday night. He said that he had been talking to Landon Williams-Callis when he was being recruited by Tashard Choice. And it was actually Jordan Scruggs told Landon Williams-Callis that, hey, Tashard Choice is interviewing with the Dallas Cowboys. And then ultimately end up going to Detroit, right? And what was said was, oh, man, I was going to go there, I think, when it was Tashard Choice, the running backs coach. And so my point being, I think as much as anything, it was the rotation of running back coaches at Texas that, to Jerry's point, kind of cut some of the relations off short, whether it was Tashard Choice and then Chad Scott and then into Jabbar Jaluk, and Chris Gilbert was the constant, perhaps, along with Steve Sarkisian.
And I do think there's something. Look, Coach Randall didn't just throw that out there. Okay, he lived through the recruitment. Yes. To be fair, every day. I think we know Sark. They recruit a little differently at Texas. I think A&M, they do push really early on guys, maybe more so than Texas does in some cases. That doesn't mean Texas doesn't want somebody as bad. But I do think there's different ways teams recruit. I mean, Texas Tech is extremely early and extremely aggressive because they have to be, because they know who they're going up against. I think A&M, what you've seen with them is they're aggressive early on guys. So I think there's different ways to recruit guys, but it doesn't mean at the end of the day you're going to win all those battles. They're winning their fair share, but doesn't mean you're going to win all those battles. I keep going back to this with that recruitment, though. The vision around the kid, I think, was the biggest deal in this. The vision around the kid was the chance to go be a next potentially great running back out of the University of Texas. Jaquiz Rogers stopped short of saying Texas was his dream school in the interview I did. And think about when Jaquiz came out. It was right after Ricky, Cedric Benson. I mean, so you just think about that, and being from the Houston area, VY goes there, TJ Ford went there. I mean, there was a lot of things going on there, Texas running backs, Houston area. But I think that vision was actually going to be the biggest deal in this decision making to go to Texas, is that that family can envision him having a chance to be a next great running back out of the University of Texas, and what that could mean for his life. But with that being said, Roberts is really good too, Bobby. There's 2 really good running backs in this class. And there's going to be great – Derek Cooper's there. So it's going to be great competition at that spot. But Landon Williams-Callis is extremely talented.
Okay, we got more Super Chats this morning. How about Dre? Dre from Virginia. Thank you, Dre. Good morning, fellas. Name a player that you guys are hoping will be a household name by fall camp's end. Is it September 5th yet? Hook 'em.
I'll go a household name. I'll go Richie Wesley.
Yeah. I'm gonna push back his name.
Or Justice Perry. And those are the 2, because I think the reason I would say those 2 is, look, there is no doubt in my mind that on the defensive front, Colin Simmons is by far the most disruptive guy on the defensive front, not including Rasheem Biles and the linebackers, right? The true linebackers. They need another guy that is a true disruptor. Is that Richie Wesley? Is that Justice Terry? I think Justice Terry is an interior disruptor at his best.
Yeah.
And they need some pass rush from the interior. The pass rush is not a great pass rush from the interior. It's from the exterior. So I'm hopeful it's either Richie Wesley or Justice Terry that become the household name, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm going to push the date back to September 12th, and I hope it's Justice Terry. I don't think anybody's become a household name after fall camp necessarily. Great question. I'm pushing it back to September 12th and going Justice Terry.
Brad Spence, somebody mentioned.
Yeah.
A good one.
Hey, Bobby, we talked about Brad Spence, Rod and I did last night. 21 tackles and 3 sacks last year. My prediction is he doubles those numbers this year playing in this scheme. I can see a scenario where he has the second most sacks on this team as well, because I think he's really good pass rusher. I mean, I think we have to go back to Arkansas the year before he transferred to Texas, 55 tackles, 4.5 sacks that year when he was a full-time player. And now he's 2 years older. I could see a 48-50 tackle, 6-7 sack season out of Brad Spence, because I think nothing against PK. I think the Will Muschamp hire arguably was as good for him as any player at Texas.
How many sacks do you think Texas is going to have this year? That's to me, that it's not necessarily any one player. It's the cumulative total that, I mean, are they just going to – I have visions of them just getting after it. When you have Rasheem Biles, when you have Brad Spence, I mean, when you have Colin Simmons, Colin Simmons is not a good player. Colin Simmons is a great player.
Yeah. I was looking at last year to see where teams were last year in the team sack rankings. Miami had 50 in 16 games, Indiana 46, Oklahoma 45 in 13 games, A&M 43. Texas had 41 last year in 13 games. I'm guessing they will be slightly higher than that in 13 games. because of Muschamp style and the talent that fits that. 43, 44 if Texas by 13 games for Texas. I don't think it's be significantly higher, but I could see 43, 44. But I think the pressures are going to go way up.
I'm going to go for 50
in 13 games.
In 13 games.
That'd be a big number.
Yeah,
I think they're going to get after its butt.
I think the thing that could hurt them in sack numbers is Texas State and UTSA are going to get the ball out of their hand quick.
Okay.
So
well, they didn't have great sack numbers early last year either.
Yep, because people are getting it out quick.
Yeah. They didn't have great sack numbers last year either.
No.
All right, a couple more super chats to get to before we get out of here. But first, Bobby, can you tell everyone one more time about John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management?
I can do it. Thanks to John Donovan, President, Longhorn Wealth Management. John's a proud Texas Exes Life member who served for 15 years on the Dallas Texas Exes board and now spent the last 4 helping lead and support the growth of the new Collin County Exes chapter. John also consistently serves his fellow Longhorns as a certified financial planner and founder of Longhorn Wealth Management, the firm he created dedicated serving UT alums and employees, as well as UT fans across the nation. John's proud that Longhorn Wealth Management Group has been honored by the Exes as a member of the 2026 Longhorn 100. The exclusive award is presented to the 100 fastest growing companies in America from 2023 to 2025 that were either founded by, owned by, or led by UT alums. It's John's first year to apply for the award. He was excited that Longhorn Wealth came in at number 32. To celebrate this accomplishment, John wants to offer all members of the OTF family a free private financial consultation via Zoom, phone, or in person to allow John to show you how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Please take time now to schedule your own free private consultation with John by either calling the Longhorn Wealth team 972-707-4900 or scheduling online www.longhornwealth.net.
I want to thank John for sponsoring, and I want to thank Terrence for a super chat. Hey guys, does Sark know his starting 5 offensive line? If not, who's your starting 5 OL to start this season?
He doesn't know him yet.
No.
Kyle Flood doesn't know him yet. They're gonna throw guys at that left guard position, is my opinion. Before Cole Hudson comes back, and then they're gonna throw him in there most likely too. Jaden Chapman finished spring as the number 1. Dylan Sikorsky finished number 2. Obviously, they went out and got Lawrence Seymour from the transfer portal. He'll get a chance to sit in there as well. Jerry, what do they need out of a left guard? Are they looking for a pass protector or a mauler, in your opinion? That's part of the piece in my brain that I try to justify. Like, do they want somebody that moves people, or do they want to keep Arch clean? Which one's more important in your opinion?
Me personally, this season, I think it needs to be the run block. But the crazy thing is, who fits the wide zone scheme at left guard? Like, you can be you could be a mauler and not fit the scheme.
So you think it's more run block as opposed to pass protect for Arch?
Yeah, I do. I think Michael Masunas is being underrated as far as the impact he's going to have on this team, and run blocking and pass protection as a pseudo 6th offensive lineman, as a chipper helper. I think he's going to help Texas in both regard. But I think Texas absolutely has to run the football better this year. I've said it before. I mean, if you look at Sark's history, he's more like 52.5 run, 47.5 pass, in that range. The 0.5 or 0.3 is maybe off if you really do play by play, but it's in that area code. And I think that's on this schedule too, who they're playing. I think you have to run the football. You have to run the football well. You have to be able to run the football when you want to, and you have to be able to kind of control a game. So I think that's going to lead to eventually the best run blocker, but that run blocker has to be able to fit the scheme. If you're a mauler and you don't fit the wide zone scheme, how does that really work? So I think that's kind of where what Lawrence Seymour has to prove is that, look, all these schemes have a little difference in the nuances because he wasn't there for the spring. We know he's a good pass blocker. He's got good feet. He's length and height challenge, but he's still solid. But as a run blocker, I think he can move people probably better than anybody else he's going to compete against, unless they started repping Jordan Coleman at left guard during fall camp. Something like that happens. I think he's going to be the best people mover of that group. Can he execute that wide zone?
I'll just say I think that stalemating on the offensive front is part of it, but I think it's got to be pass protection. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think that I'm a little different than Jerry here. I do think they need a run game, Jerry. Not debating that. I feel like giving Arch more time to get through progressions is going to be more valuable. Just my opinion.
One more super chat this morning. This one from Juan Garza. He says, Bobby, why do you need an office if you all do team videos? But congrats on the office. Does Jerry have his own corn dog with mayo in his office?
Jerry does not have an office. Jerry's still at his house down in Houston. Look, we're going to be right off the drag here in Austin. We'll be available quick videos after practice, other opportunities that we see come by. CJ, Jeff, myself, Marcus will be in, Rod will be in. We'll have some fun here in town and be able to bring you guys some things that we haven't been able to do before.
Yeah. And I want to close with this one because it was asked multiple times today. But a lot of people want to know, with practice starting in a couple of days, is there going to be a media window? California Horn, B2 and ATX, others asking that as well, Bobby.
Yes, there are 2 open media sessions on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Historically, Wednesdays has been longer and Thursdays has been shorter. Not sure what Steve Sarkisian, John Bianco, the sports information director, and Thomas Stepp, football SID, are going to decide on that. But we definitely are going to get practice access on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll get Steve Sarkisian post-practice on Wednesday, and we'll get some players as well to talk on post-practice on Thursday. Tomorrow, we actually have a little extra thing. We're getting to do a little something with the basketball team as well. Sean Miller being proactive on basketball and allowing media to go to that practice just on background tomorrow. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here in Austin right now, and we will be absolutely on the ground covering it for you guys. As a reminder, and I want to say this, during these heavy cycles, whenever a lot of news going out, we are relaunching our campaign. It went really, really well back in the spring when we did it in conjunction with a lot of recruiting news. But as we get that insider info on practice, et cetera, we are relaunching this offer, $3 for 3 months. It's a limited time offer only. If you are not a subscriber to ontexasfootball.com, please come over and join us. If you are a member, please tell a friend. This is an easy way to join. It's for new subscribers only, $3 for 3 months, and then you convert into an annual subscriber. That's at ontexasfootball.com. We've got all the breaking news, all the practice info, everything we're going to have this coming month, in the month of August. It should be a big run-up to college football season, and then obviously we keep you going through football season as well. But please join us over at ontexasfootball.com. Excited about what we got going. Hank's already got some stuff. CJ's got some stuff over there this morning as well.
Good stuff. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live, post content, whatever it may be. Between those 2 avenues, we got you covered around the clock. And that is going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I want to thank John along with Prize Picks. And my mind went blank there for a second. Vaughn Lane and Mint Mobile, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, it's a loaded week. So what's later? What do you got?
We're going to update you guys on a couple of things as it relates to the team. Jeff Howe and I are going to get together here in a little bit and talk a little bit more about the Cole Hudson situation, as well as the other players that are possible to perhaps return. And then also later this evening, we have Rod Babers coming back and joining for the live stream this evening, and should have more on TexasFootball.com. If you have questions and didn't get them in, make sure you check us out over at OnTexasFootball.com. Jerry, myself, everybody will be over there, be able to answer your questions.
Well, we hope you all have a tremendous day. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Got a couple of special guests tomorrow as well, so be sure to tune in for that. And so for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
Hook 'em horns, guys.